More than 200 Mpumalanga students studying at various universities in Russia fear expulsion and eviction. This as the Mpumalanga Education Department fails to pay stipends, housing costs and tuition fees amounting to 55 million rand. Now, the majority of these students run the risk of losing 5 years of their studies. Joining me now to discuss this further from Moscow and Tambov in Russia is Victoria, Maheso and Nthabeleng, Sibiya. A very good morning to both of you and thank you for joining us on our platform. Victoria, I'd like to start with you. What can you tell us about your situation? Has it improved in any way, or are you still expecting to be evicted by tomorrow?
Thank you very much for having us. At this very moment, we're just getting promises and promises, which also are believed as lies from the government, because they've lied to us before, telling us that they will pay for accommodation and they haven't paid for it. So they are busy saying that no, they won't let it get to that point that we're going to get evicted tomorrow. But we really don't know where we stand, and we are still in a position where we are fearing for our lives. Because even when we have to go to school tomorrow, I might be going to school to be told that I'm expelled and come back home to get an eviction letter. So nothing has improved thus far. And we are only hearing just a bunch of lies from them, even more, because they are not even being transparent with us. Instead of coming to us and communicating with us exactly what's happening, they're not saying anything to us.
Nthabeleng, now the pair of you form part of a greater cohort, some 200 students who are studying abroad. Do you know of any other students who have already been evicted and have already had, you know, this devastating event befall them?
I haven't heard of anyone being evicted. I know that most students during this period have had to resort to getting loans and loans and loans due to not getting their stipends and not receiving the money for accommodation as well. I haven't heard of anyone being expelled as of this moment.
All right, well, that's good to hear. But for now, we've received reports, rather, of the Department of Education in Mpumalanga actually requesting students to open up bank accounts from as far back as you actually try to get the attention of the department to get them to deal with the backlog in payments. Their response was to request that you open bank accounts. To what end, Victoria?
We did open bank accounts and we were requested to send proof of our accounts, and they said they wanted accounts that have the bursary holder's name on it. And there are a few students that didn't have the access to be opening the bank accounts, and they were advised by the government that they need to open a time bank account. So after we sent those bank account details, they sent us our stipend for July and August, which amounted to 10,000 rands, which is 5,000 for 2 months, and it came delayed. It was in mid-August when it came. So it was more than 2 months that we didn't get stipend. And there are some students that couldn't open their bank accounts, and they sent their details late. And to this day, there are over 4 months of not receiving their stipends. So we only got, the last time we got our stipends was when they were giving us it for 2 months. And from now, we still haven't received anything from them. And they were advising students, that students are supposed to use that 10,000 rands that they send to cover their accommodation just while they are still trying to figure out what they are doing. And that was when we started seeing that these people don't really care about us, because they're not giving us money for food, they're not paying for our accommodation, and the little that they give us, they're telling us that we must try and cover for everything, which is not the agreement that we had with them when we signed a contract that they're going to bring us to Russia to come and further our studies. So...
Nthabeleng, so the sense that we're getting is that this stipend, this 10,000 rand stipend that came in drips and drabs in August, clearly isn't enough to cover not only your stipend but accommodation and tuition fees. Talk to us about your living conditions. I mean, how are you able to buy food? How are you able to live in a foreign country? And we know that right now, you know, it's fast approaching winter. Temperatures are dropping in Russia. What is it like living in those conditions right now?
It's quite hard, really. If you are living on accommodation with just the stipend, if most of it would be going to just accommodation, and as for food, it's been hard for the last 2 or 3 months because food prices have gone up. People have had to make massive budget cuts. People have been getting more and more sick. It's harder to afford even the basics like, your porridge and your rices. It's really been hard. Especially people are now having to resort to eating cheap food and just having to survive off of bones, really.
Some individuals watching your story unfolding on our program this morning may ask themselves, well, why don't you just come home if living is so hard in Russia? But many of you are, in fact, final year students. You've spent years in a foreign country trying to obtain this tertiary degree with the hopes of coming back home and plowing the skills into South Africa. I understand that some of you are students of applied mathematics, computer literacy, veterinarian sciences. I mean, these are high-skilled jobs that we're looking at here. Talk to us about, I suppose, what has kept you going, because this is an issue that has been around for a while. This is a long-standing issue. So what has kept you going, Victoria?
The thing is that when we started engaging with the government, right, because we've been already working with Ruckus, our agency, and they have been really good to us. So when we started engaging with the government officials and the government itself, we went to them as people that we could trust, people that we could say they are our family. So because of the hope that we were hoping that they would treat us like their children, we just kept on pushing so that we can be able to at least be able to finish our studies and come home with our degrees so that we can be able to contribute back into South African society. So because of all of that and the fact that when we were working with our agents, we never really had to worry about anything because we know that if I had an emergency, Dr. Kuma was going to be able to help me with anything. But now when we even call the government officials to even try and tell them that this is our situation, they don't even pick up our phones. So we are in a position where we don't really understand how we are going to be able to be motivated to even push right now, because what we are doing, trying to get them to do right by us, isn't what we should be doing right now. The critical time in the semester, the school just opened now. A lot of people have a lot of things that they need to be doing, but instead we are out here begging our own government that brought us here to come and be able to do right by us. It's really pathetic, honestly.
Well, Nthabeleng, in terms of responses, what has your engagement with the department been like?
It's not really been with me, really, but the leaders have been going on meetings with the government, and the government hasn't really been giving them a lot of answers. Many of the leaders feel as though we're used as some kind of pawns for something else. We haven't really been getting... We haven't been getting answers. We've all been getting the same political answers as Dr. Mkabela shared yesterday.
And what are those political answers?
That money still needs to go through processes. We have to go through the right channels. The same stuff he was telling us yesterday. And at this moment in time, we can't really be affording to wasting a lot of time going through processes. It's an emergency. If tuitions aren't paid for by the end of the month, we'll be in big trouble. Expulsion lists will be given out by this Friday.
And what happens once that expulsion list is actually released? I mean, we were working with a deadline of tomorrow, Victoria, that your eviction was due to happen tomorrow. But in your case, in Nthabeleng, once the expulsion list is released on Friday, what options do you have beyond that?
We don't have a lot of options.
All right. Well, in terms of responses, we know that the department in this Times Live article mentions that they are looking to make payments, not detailing how much specifically, by next Friday. That is the 14th of October. Does that offer you any kind of hope, Victoria, any kind of reprieve at this point?
Honestly, it doesn't, because not so long ago, was it last weekend, they sent us a report where they were saying that everything was going to be settled by the 7th. It is the 9th today, and nothing has been done. And tomorrow, some of us face eviction, and we don't even know what we are going to be saying to our landlords when they come to us. And because they've lied to us so many times, I really don't have any faith in the fact that everything will be sorted out by the 14th. I'm just hoping that tomorrow becomes a better day for some of us, so that we are able to understand that if there's still some fighting chance, we'll still be able to push for our academics and be able to finish our studies in a safe environment. So I really don't have any hope in them right now, because they've been lying to us for the past 3-4 months. They've been lying to us. So how do we believe them now?
All right. Well, I want to
honestly speaking.
All right. I want to thank both of you for coming on to our program and sharing with us your plight in Russia, in a foreign country. Let's try and get those responses to you and try to get those funds to you. Thank you so much for joining us on our program this morning. That's Victoria Maheso and Nthabeleng Sibiya. Up next is a recap